everybody, and welcome back to our channel, Red Bull Coffee and Crime. It is Red Bull here,
And
and yay, we are back together once again. So, today's story, um, Garnett had found, and we've been saying we were going to do it for the past, I think, 2 weeks. So, here we are. This case is very just disturbing and weird, and this family needs justice, like a lot of cases. But it is the case of Jesse Marie Twilight Song Crooks. I love that name, Twilight. I wish I would have thought about that name. All right. So, just one day before the nation would be rocked by the terrorist attack of 9/11, residents of Bowling Green, Kentucky, found themselves faced with a unfathomable loss. A 2-week search for missing 15-year-old Jessie Marie Twilight Song Crooks had come to a tragic end. So, around 4 p.m. on September 10th, 2001, a man walking his dog off of a trail in a remote area on Matlock Old Union Church Road crossed over to the border of a wooded area when his dog caught the scent of something. Just inside the tree line, he came across the partially decomposed and fully clothed body of 15-year-old Jessie Marie Twilight Song Crooks. Her body had been dumped in an area that could only be arrived at by leaving a nearby gravel road. She was abandoned just at the brink of a wooded area and not far from a dried out pond. Her killer had made a rather inept attempt to conceal her body by covering Twilight with leaves and plants he had pulled up by the root. She was less than 5 miles from her home. So, Twilight was last seen late in the evening on August 28th, 2001. Earlier in the day, she spent time with several friends. She had dinner with them. They were just hanging out, listening to music. Uh, Twilight was a very bubbly teen who had a genuine wide smile. It was contagious. She loved being around people. She had a fascination with sun and star images. She was 5'6" and less than 100 pounds. She was graceful and alive with seemingly endless energy. Twilight had been born in New Mexico and was half American Indian. After returning home, when she hung out with her friends, Twilight received a phone call at about 10:50 p.m. Police later traced that phone call to a payphone outside of the Plano Country Store. It is believed that Twilight snuck out on foot to meet the person who called her from the payphone that evening, and Twilight was never seen alive again. Her father, Bobby Crooks, and stepmother, Linda, reported her missing the next day on August 29th. The community searched for her, hoping against hope she had just run away. No one dreamed she could have come to such a tragic end so close by. When Twilight was discovered 13 days later, her body was partially decomposed from exposure to the elements in animal activity. This made it impossible for police investigators to make a positive identification. Forensic anthropologist Dr. Emily Craig was called in to assist. By using dental records and other medical records, Dr. Craig was able to make a positive identification. On September 11th, 2001, the most horrific news Twilight's parents received was not from television news reports about the terrorists and planes being flown into buildings. That day, they received the worst news of their lives from Warren County Sheriff investigators. The body found in the remote area off of Matlock Old Union Church Road was their missing daughter, and Twilight would never return home. Investigators believe Twilight was killed in the night of August 28th. The condition of Twilight's body, when recovered, strongly supports this. Evidence in the area where her body was found suggests she was killed in a different location than where her body was recovered. Additional evidence at the scene indicates the killer moved her body in an attempt to conceal it. Because of the particular location where Twilight's body was discovered and the fairly complicated access path to it, investigators believe Twilight's killer was familiar with that area. Though it is remote, it is just a few miles from the Plano subdivision where Twilight lived, on Larman Mill Road. There are several critical clues from the scene which detectives have not made public. These are things that only the killer would know, and detectives said they must protect that information. Twilight was found wearing a men's extra large football jersey with the number 10 on it. It was a rival. It was from a rival high school. And her parents didn't recognize it. Police later traced that jersey, but it would only lead to a dead end. So her shoes were also missing from the scene where her body was recovered. It could be that her shoes were left in the killer's car. However, Twilight was also known to go barefoot on occasion, especially when the vivacious teenager was going to be hanging out with people that she knew. That is so crazy because when I'm hearing about her, like when I was a teen, even now, I hate wearing shoes. Like I would be running around the neighborhood without shoes on. Everybody would be like, "Where's your shoes?" Um, but she also had a purple fossil watch, and it was never located at the scene. This could be an important clue as well. Perhaps someone will remember something or someone suddenly having a purple fossil watch or giving one away around the time of her death. Investigators were able to recover DNA from the scene, and that information has been entered into CODIS. Investigators will be notified immediately if a profile matching the DNA profile left at the scene is entered. Investigators say the DNA they collected means if they have a suspect, they can prove one way or the other if he is responsible for Twilight's death. They never released the cause of death for Twilight either. The information is purposely being withheld to help eliminate inaccurate and false information. Over the years, police have interviewed well over 100 people, teachers, friends, teens, people she went to church with, school with, pastors, co-workers, neighbors, relatives, and they relentlessly track down every lead that has come in on this case. Um, so they are still seeking justice. It's been about 20 years. Um, she would be in her mid 30s, and you know, she would have had a family and children of her own. Um, she still had college. She still had prom. She still had so much life left ahead of her. But she was denied that, and her family has been denied of the joy of watching her grow into a young woman. Twilight never had the chance to chase her dreams or build on her hopes for the future. Her killer selfishly took her from this earth, brutally tearing her from all of the friends and family members she loved so much. All they have left now are the memories, the pictures, and a memorial placed at the scene where her body was found. They say that it is likely that Twilight knew her killer, and therefore the people who knew Twilight also know her killer. It's a sobering thought, but investigators are hoping someone will come forward with some information about that night that can help them bring Twilight's killer to justice. Twilight trusted her killer, and that decision cost her life. Um, it's only up to those who knew. and loved her to speak up for her. Perhaps someone out there heard or saw something that night or shortly after and discounted it as not being important, especially if it relates to someone they knew and trusted in the community. The Warren County Sheriff's Office wants to make it clear no piece of information or tip is too small. Um, it may be that someone just has just a small bit of information, but it may fit into a much larger piece of information.
That's why I wanted to cover this. There is so much that, you know, so many things that could be, you might have seen and not realized that it was important.
Hey, Arctic Game Music, thank you guys for joining.
There are shoes missing, there's a watch missing. These items, they come up missing. Somebody had to have seen them somewhere. you know um and maybe at the time you didn't think something about it, but you know um
Exactly.
it could mean a lot.
It could, and just like they said, if they know the person, they might not even think of it as,
Right. Well, and that's sort of my thing is, I think back as I raised 5 teenagers, and I think back to, how many different pairs of shoes did I see in my house, and never gave a second thought to. How many watches did I see come in and out of my house and never paid any attention to it? But thank God we've never had anybody missing or anything. But it's one of those things that think back to that time, especially if you knew Twilight or her family. Um, you know,
yeah,
little things.
it is. And, if you do remember any of these things, you're urged to reach out to the Warren County Sheriff's Department at 270-842-1633. The Sheriff's Office dedicated to bringing Twilight's killer to justice, and they want to hear from anyone. You can remain anonymous if you wish, and there is a fat $1,000 reward for your information. I believe that needs to go up. But you guys, you can make a difference by sharing this video, or I will post her flyer as well. But this information needs to reach as many people as possible. Twilight never had the chance to have a family of her own. She never had the chance to graduate or go to college, and she needs you to do what she no longer can. She needs you to be her voice. You can help secure justice for this life cut far too short. You can bring hope to those who loved her by sharing this video and talking about her story. Her killer is hoping she will be forgotten. He is hoping that her name will not come up. He is hoping her story will not be talked about, that her life and death will be forgotten. But you can be a vital part of making sure that that does not happen. So, please share this information, share the video, share her flyers. I will pull one up on screen real quick. But you're right, like Garnet, all the
Well, and it's little stuff. It's things that, okay, she was 15. And obviously she traveled five miles that night. And was there a man in her life? Was there people because obviously she got a phone call that's known. So
mm,
she left the house going to meet somebody. Now I understand the whole thing of not wearing shoes. When I was 15, I never had shoes on either. But if I thought I was going to be making a 5-mile trip anywhere, I would have definitely worn my shoes. Um, so that makes me think that and it doesn't give me enough information. Were her shoes at home? Her parents should know how many shoes she had. You would think that they would be able to verify whether the shoes were left at home or whether they were removed from her body.
Yeah.
But you know, if to me that's huge right there, because when I was cleaning up my kids' rooms, there'd be several times I would say, "Whose shoes are these? They're not mine." You know, and my kids, of course, had an answer for it, but maybe there's somebody that seen a pair of shoes and didn't push hard enough or didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're thinking back on that time, this is the time. If you knew Twilight, if you lived in that area, please reach out. She deserves justice, and nobody deserves to just be slaughtered in the middle of the woods and left, and nobody ever have to answer for that.
Yes, and hopefully it happens before her parents pass away. They are really they're older, and they just want justice for their daughter. I know if I was a parent and I had a child die, I don't know. I just feel really bad for these families that have a loved one that dies. The case that we covered from your area,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, her family is Jolie. Her
yeah,
family's still looking for justice.
and her mother's getting, she's, uh, you know, almost there at that time, and the sister of the missing girl is wanting to figure out what happened before her mom dies. So you guys, let's please share this video, give it a like. Let's help this family. There is a only $1,000 reward. I don't
Which
know.
is so very sad, but it goes along with, that Arctic talks about it all the time, the I forget what he calls it, the white woman syndrome or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, where if you're blonde haired, blue eyed, your reward's $50,000. And here this poor child was 15, and this reward is 30 years old and it's never climbed above $1,000. I find that very, very sad.
very sad. So you guys, thank you for joining us. This, again, this is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Um, September 10th, 2001 is when she was found. And just help us share this video. You know, the jersey, I mean, they have the jersey, it didn't lead to anything, but that watch, that watch
Right,
could mean something.
right. When you're talking about things, and the jersey might not have led to anything that they seen, but to me, that, I think back to when I was 15, and, you know, it, you wear a boy's jersey, just, it leaves a lot of questions open on what was happening that night.
Yep. All right, you guys. Well, thank you guys for watching. We have other stuff coming up as well, so we're working on a few things, but we just wanted to get this video out. Thank you guys so much again, and if you're new here, please subscribe, please like this video, please share, and yeah, thank you for joining us.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye.